Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 52.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I know something you don't know. You're going to enjoy this episode because the guest that I have today knows more, has met more people, and has been able to help so many thousands upon thousands, maybe even millions of people make changes in their life, make quantum leaps in terms of their progress, and most importantly, change some of the fundamental relationships that are required if you're going to go out there and build a business and have some cash flow. Because whether you realize it or not, the journey that you're on, we're all on our own journeys, of course, but the journey that you're on, as you're listening, as you're taking in the information, is to become a bigger, better version of yourself, more than it is to learn how to actually transact real estate or do anything of that nature. However, occasionally, because of things we've gone through, because of who we've been in the past, because of things we may have projected into the future, those very things could be the things that are in our way. And today we're going to be speaking with an individual who is profound and, more importantly, overqualified to help you and I, but she is taking her time to help us become bigger, better versions of ourselves and understand our own relationships with something as simple but yet deep as money. So what I want you to do is I want you to really take notes this time, because there's going to be a lot of information. We're likely to go really, really, really fast, and it's going to be full of resources and opportunities for you to go out there and do something wonderful and great today. So welcome, if you will, Miss DC Cordova. DC, are you there?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm overjoyed and just speaking about the money and speaking about it with you, of all people. So I appreciate you taking the time. Because as everyone knows, it's a journey, and we've got to go through the process of becoming bigger, better versions of ourselves that are capable of handling the very wealth that we're seeking to enjoy. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to be able to do that.
Okay. Now, do you want me to share a little bit about my background so people will know that I'm a very simple person?
Yeah. Simple. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is because there may be a few people, probably only two, who haven't heard you or heard of you. And I wanted you to, if you could, because you have been so impactful in so many different places, in so many different countries across the world. If you could just, tell us a little bit about what you've done, who you've impacted, your accomplishments, and more importantly than that, what are some of those fundamental things that you see across all nationalities across the world that can begin to help us on this journey as we continue to build cash flow and attract more money for ourselves and be able to go out there and help and serve more people?
Great. Okay. Well, there are certain people that know me in certain circles, but I also have purposely, for the last 35 years, kept myself in the background. I'm actually a CEO and a program people may know called Money and You, and also the Accelerated Business School for Entrepreneurs. And I was also Robert Kiyosaki's of Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was his business partner for 9 years, from the year 1985 until 1994. And then he went on to create Rich Dad Poor Dad series with our friend Sharon Lecter. Everybody is a Money and You program graduate. And I was a publisher of his first book called If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. It's a great book. You can find it on Amazon. And pretty much I have been from the beginning of what could be called the transformational, entrepreneurial, experiential business programs in the world, which got started in the 70s and by my mentors. One of them, the female mentor, has created a magnificent program for teens called supercamp.com, and the male was a gentleman by the name of Marshall Thurber, who is a very brilliant man that has really and now works with different technology and methodologies that he keeps creating. Geniuses just keep creating. And pretty much I've been doing that for the last 34 years, and the Money and You program, Accelerator Business School, is very big in the Asia-Pacific region. We're huge in China, in the Chinese communities of the Asia-Pacific region, and we have opened up the industry for transformational work in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Brunei, and, of course, Hong Kong and all throughout China. And probably what I'm really known for is being on the background and having mentored people like Tony Robbins when he was 23 years old. He's a Money and You graduate. We had people like Paul Mitchell, the hair salon, the co-creator, who unfortunately passed away very young at 54. That's very young to me. I had created this industry. He was a Money and You graduate, and then also people like Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's. Those are kind of like the big names. Then there are a lot of people that you've never heard of that had put the principles to work. We've had over 100,000 people do the Money and You program. But what is so interesting is that I'm actually a Chilena, came to this country, to the United States, when I was 12 years old. My parents were immigrants, and grew up in L.A. like a regular kid in Los Angeles, went to Belmont High, was going to grow up to be all kinds of things. When you're young, you want to be all kinds of different things. But I had a vision once that I was going to be in a big house, in a big place that looked like the United Nations. So I thought I was going to be an interpreter, because this is very important for your listeners to see, that you can only see your future sometimes from where you are right now. So all I could think about was that I was going to be an interpreter of English and Spanish. Little did I know that I was probably going to be running something like the United Nations in my future. And so this is very important, that you always have to allow yourself to have a very big vision of yourself, because if you don't, you will see yourself as something lesser than maybe the Great Spirit has destined you to be. And I had a wonderful life until I was 18 years old, and then this is very key to my success. And I had tremendous tragic thing happen. My boyfriend, who was a little bit too much of a party animal, got killed in a car accident when we were both 18 years old. I didn't know it. I was pregnant. I miscarried his baby on his birthday 5 months later, and pretty much broke my heart into a million little pieces. And as any 18-year-old would do, I became a workaholic. And I went into the legal system. I became an interpreter. Then I became a court reporter, and I was going to grow up to be an attorney. And by the time I was 24 years old, I was very, very successful, because I had learned a lot about business, not only from my middle-class family, that in Chile my mother had been a very successful beauty salon owner, as my auntie was. But I learned a lot from these women, a lot. Something that later we ended up calling the business success model, which I will share with the audience in a little bit. And I didn't know it, but I had learned that from my family. Later that was confirmed in all the cases, that when you study to be a court reporter, you spend 3 years listening to cases, both criminal and business and everything in between. And so by the time I was 24, 25 years old, I was the most unhappy, successful, gorgeous young girl that ended up moving to Hawaii, so that if I was going to be depressed in life, I might as well go to a beautiful place. And when I was 26 years old, I had what could be considered an epiphany, an enlightenment experience, and it was in a beautiful yacht with my beautiful boyfriend and my beautiful roommate, Susie. And it was pretty much, my boyfriend Bob was he was had been a military pilot, very, very straight guy, very nonsensical guy. And I had this enlightenment experience where I saw all of humanity. I literally saw the whole universe, and then I heard in my heart this voice that said, I did not put you on planet Earth for you to be a party girl. I did not put you on planet Earth to be a party girl. I put you to do a job. I had no idea what that meant. And to make another long story very short, I changed so much out of that experience. I ended up doing my first transformational program at the time, which was called EST. And then I met my mentors that had created the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind. And I ended up, I learned the principles so well from this business school for entrepreneurs. And it was a path of balancing consciousness principles, personal development principles, transformational principles, which is different, by the way, from personal development. Transformational is when you really go through the experiences that you need to relive in order to remove blocks to having wealth, success, health, and a life that works not only for you but for everyone. And it was out of that experience I learned the principles so well. My mentors went on to do something else. Kiyosaki did the Money and You program in 1980. Later, when my mentors went on to do other things in 1985, I asked him to be my business partner. And the rest of it is pretty much history. So for the last 35 years now, since 1979, I have been running a thing called the Business School for Entrepreneurs and Money and You, which when people go to moneyandyou.com, they have an opportunity to see all the big, brilliant people that have done the program. And pretty much at where I am now in my early 60s is for me, because I teach these things, of course, I learned leverage very well. And I'm pretty much now a major humanitarian. I have the title of Dame, and that was because I was knighted under the world's oldest humanitarian order, religious order, called the Order of St. John. And I'm under the Russian priority. There's definitely different priorities. And that was done nearly 4 years ago. And I'm working my way through the order. I'm now Dame Commander, which is too funny because I'm a double DC. My name is Doris. And now I'm Dame Commander Doris del Carmen Cordova Michelle. And one day my friends and I were laughing. I said I became a double DC. And pretty much live my life now contributing much more to society and humanitarian efforts, even though I've been doing that my whole life. And really focusing now on empowering human beings to finding that genius within them that each and every person has. As you know, Kiyosaki, who was inspired, of course, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad is based on the work of Money and You, and of course of our mentor, Buckminster Fuller, to find that genius that every single human being has, and really beginning to discover what are the gifts that you have, and then finding vehicles like real estate. Finding real estate in certain industries that would allow you to practice sound business principles that I can share with you in the business success model, and have the opportunity to create the wealth that they deserve. And I love speaking to podcasts like this and to your audiences. This is my love. The more that I can do this, hopefully I will awaken someone into really finding their true geniuses, which is right there in my speaking today and supporting every human being on planet Earth.
Nice. And that's a great place to just pick up from, because one of the things that I know for myself was very important was to finally find something that was my genius, if you will, and how I can express it and how I could use it. Because for so many years, I was in this, like, what am I going to do? How do I add value to society thing? And this whole real estate thing has just been the vehicle necessary to make that happen. Now, you said something that I thought was very, very interesting. You described yourself as unhappy, successful, beautiful girl. I was like, whoa, I've not heard many people go unhappy, successful at the same time. So elaborate a little bit on that for some people who may not understand, because, occasionally we can go, well, if, I had $100,000 or $1 million or my net worth was this, I would just be happy. But I get the feeling you have a deeper definition.
Well, I know some of the richest people on the planet in the Asia Pacific region because of my work and my partners. I have beautiful partners that have introduced me, and I have personally met some of the world's most influential people that very few of you have ever heard of. Maybe if Jenny Tay of the Hourglass in Singapore, you can look her up, or Dato Masna of Security Force in Malaysia, you can look them up. But of course, now one of the people that I hang out with is a gentleman by the name of Wang Ming of the Solo Valley in Dezhou, China. These are all people that have heart, Wang Ming being a billionaire with heart. Those are three people that I have met that are social entrepreneurs that are happy. I have met more unhappy billionaires than I can think of. I'm telling you the exception right now, because they are so committed to adding value to people. That's what makes them happy. If you go to later, people can go look me up in Facebook. I am at DC Cordova Friends or Dame DC Cordova. I apologize. I can't allow everybody to be my friend. I'm almost at the top of my thing. In Facebook, they only allow you 5,000 friends. So you have to go to my Facebook page, my fan page. And if you go and you look about a week ago, I put a picture of myself when I first moved to Maui, when I was 25 years old. I was a beauty. There's no question about it. You will see it. All my friends went, whoa, and I was a very beautiful young girl that was very, very unhappy. Part of it had been because I thought that life was supposed to turn out completely different than I was experiencing at the time. I had not had my enlightenment experience when that picture was taken. It's me with a little license plate that from California had been changed on my little VW convertible. You can't miss it. I'm sitting there in Hawaii. And that girl had experienced a lot already. So life gives us things that horrendous sometimes. They're horrendous. I lived in hell. I can honestly say that I lived in hell. My boyfriend was killed when I was 18. I lost my baby. Then I had another miscarriage when I was 21. And in a 3-year period, I lost 14 close friends from Vietnam War, drugs, suicides, and some, that just accidents and things. I was a very scared little girl. So I went into the legal system in order to find protection. Well, that's another story, and you can interview me on another time about that. And that was where I began to learn about integrity. I began to learn about that if you don't live a values-based life, you are not going to be a happy person. And time goes by very quickly. I am like 25 in my heart. And it's strange. I was talking to my mom, who's 88 years old, and she's always been my best friend. And my mother and I were talking. She says it's the strangest thing, because every once in a while I look in the mirror and wonder who that is, because you never age inside. And one of the things you need to look at, though, that when you are in your senior age, and many people are going to live much longer than 80s and 90s because of all the advancements that are happening with anti-aging medicines and, in health and science, the one thing that you're going to do is that you're going to have a good 20, 30 years to contemplate your life. And you really need to choose whether you're going to live a life of value or a life of where you're going to squander your relationships, your health, the money that you have or that people have invested with you. So I'd like to bridge over to the business success model right now, because I want to give your audience a very solid recipe, and I'm gonna go ahead and have them go to for those of them that may want to follow and read as I'm with them. If they go to moneyandyou.com/free gift, and it can be all in small letters and together.
Okay, hold that thought 1 second. For those of you listening, you've heard me talk about this before about moving at the speed of instruction. So go over to moneyandyou.com/free gift. That way, hit pause on this, go there, do that, come back, and that way you can follow along as she continues to go through. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So there they have an opportunity for them to download the business success model. Now, what I'm going to do is later they can download it, but right now what I want them to see is like the model here. So, for instance, I will start from the bottom. Masters, niche, leverage, aligned team, synergy results. So this is a model that has worked for many people. All the big wealth gurus that you can think of out there, you can ask them, and they have followed this. So you, Jay, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much, because you're bringing masters. You're bringing masters to your audience. And one of the things that you need to learn from us, like I learn from masters all the time, and that is the patterns of thinking that a master has. If I can adopt and adapt into my brain the patterns of thinking, I would absolutely recommend to you that you will start getting smarter and smarter and smarter. You need to know this about me, and I'm not saying this so that I will get a compliment from you.
Okay.
I am not that smart. I am not that smart. Now, I hang around with geniuses, so I can say this, okay? But I'm very street smart, and I hang around with very smart people. The people around me are so much smarter than me. And this is you got to leave the ego at the door, because there's a part of all of our egos that always wants to be the smartest, the prettiest, the richest, the everything. Once you leave that at the door, then you become free, because you can learn from masters. And masters will teach you from their mistakes. They will teach you what they've learned, and this is what I'm doing with you right now. Because if you are right now 25 years old and you're the most unhappy person, don't take the next 10 years to figure it out the way that it took me. Now, get it now, and you can definitely have a life a lot faster, and you will have this model.
Okay.
The next thing is to
hold on. You got to let me interject one quick thing for everyone. Go back a few episodes when I was talking specifically about how you don't want to be the smartest person on your team, because if you are, you got a problem. It sounds like she's saying the exact same thing, and I'm just smiling because it's awesome. And many of you, if you want to go back like to episode 1, 2, and 3, you can hear a lot of the mistakes that I've already made and that I let people know about, so that you don't make them. And that's the very reason I'm smiling so large right now. It's so awesome that you are here and reiterating this and being able to share it with us in a very genuine and true way, because you've been doing this for many, many decades, and I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to my pen here and keep taking notes. So okay, go ahead.
That was the great teaching of Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller used to say the greatest mistake that people ever made was to make themselves wrong for making mistakes. It is the way that we were designed to learn. And the greatest thing, one of my missions, my purpose is to really uplift humanity's consciousness through socially responsible business. People can read about me more, dccordova.com. You can read all about me there. But one of the missions that I have is to transform educational systems around the world to eradicate poverty and hunger. I'm one of the very few Americans that sat down across from Fidel Castro when I was only 34 years old at the height of the Cold War. We had this conversation. When I speak with prime ministers, ministers of education, ministers of trade, billionaires, and some of the most powerful people on the planet, they always ask me, how would you transform an educational system? The very first thing that we would do is to allow people and children to learn from their mistakes. The second one would be to have cooperative studying, which is what we're now doing. We are doing cooperative studying by learning together and also creating masterminds. But that's another story. You can have me back to talk about the ideal educational system, which all of you need to re-educate yourselves to get rid of that. You do want to brainwash. You want to wash your own brain of stuff that was said to you that is so unresourceful for you, that it weakens you. You can't afford to have one negative thought when you are on the path You can have it. You take 3 deep breaths and say, change that thought. You stand up, you take a walk, you jump up and down. That's what Tony Robbins teaches you in 3 days' time. That's what you do.
Right.
You take deep breaths, walk around, and change your state, and you are set. It's not that complicated. Now, so making mistakes is key, so don't make yourself wrong. Yes, we all hate to make mistakes, but it's important for you to know that one. Now, the next one is creating a niche. Now, I'm going to speak about real estate here. You know, I sat down with Kiyosaki and many of his rich dads, you know, some of the key people that he learned from, and he has shared that in his different, you know, books and things. And one of the niches that he had is real estate. That's the niche that you have, Jay. And my niche is transformational entrepreneurial education, because I truly believe that the whole world needs to be educated. And a lot of the people that do that are graduates of my program. Harv Eker worked with us for 7 years. Laurel Langemeyer was a Money and You graduate and promoted Money and You in San Francisco. I'll throw some other names that you might know, that these are all people that either got their start or really took a lot of the tips of the business success model into their lives. So you need to create a niche. So even if you're not into real estate, what is the niche? What if you are in a restaurant business? What is the difference between your Chinese restaurant and the Chinese restaurant down the road? And then, of course, you have to be able to market that niche in a way that it differentiates you from everyone else. So be very clear on your niche, and it could be something that is brand new, and you don't want to take advice from people that are not mega successful. You do not run your ideas by your cousin that has never made a penny in their lives, that smokes pot, because they're most likely going to laugh. Okay, so I'll tell you a very quick story. When I met Fidel Castro, there was a picture taken of he and I and the group. There were 5 of us, but there's one particular picture where I'm pointing to him one of Buckminster Fuller's books. And I was so proud of this picture. And I went to, once a year, we used to get together with my high school friends for around the holidays. And I brought the picture of me and Fidel Castro to show them, and I was so proud. Most of them were all on the floor laughing, and they were absolutely certain that I had hired a actor to play Fidel Castro to create the picture.
That's funny.
That's because they couldn't see me. They couldn't. They couldn't. They had met me when I was 15 years old, a little Chilena girl with a very heavy accent that, you know, could hardly read English. I mean, I could, but you know what I mean. So they are people that do not hold you at the stature that you want to be at. So you want to hang out with people, and you want to have mentors and people in your mastermind that have exceeded your expectations of success. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is listening to people and running great ideas. You could be sitting on a fantastic idea, and people that don't know business will put it down. So we'll move on, because I could talk about that for hours. Is that okay, Jay?
Yeah, no. Well, the only thing I was going to say, and that very thing, that very principle that you're talking about right there with masterminds and niches, is what I call it investor identity. And by, especially when it comes to real estate entrepreneurs, is if you take your specific investor identity out there to the marketplace, and you don't have to try to master fixing and flipping, buying and holding, and notes and all this stuff at once. You just do your one thing and do it very, very well, and know the exact reasons why you're the best at doing it, and you'll be completely fine. And that's why we put together the mastermind groups. We're running one right now. And so people can have the access to other people's minds to be able to understand and learn how to do things that they may have never done before. Because for me, learning to raise private capital was not exactly something I was taught in, grade school. However, it's something I've become very proficient at, and I help other people get that same type of result. So I'm just, right now, I'm like, I'm like, wow, okay, this is feeling good. You are giving me personally lots of confirmation that I'm headed in the right directions and I'm doing the right things. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but this is what is happening, and this is good. So I'm very excited to hear what more you have to say.
Well, this happened because you're a good man. This happened because your purpose and your commitment to helping all of us together as a team to eradicate poverty and hunger. These are the results. This is how the Great Spirit works. This is how the great generalized principle that we teach in our Money and You program called precession, which is the scientific terms and explanation for the ripple effects. That's why it happened, because you will attract to you all the right people. You will attract the people that is needed for you to fulfill your purpose. And you may never know until you could be on your last breath and not know what your true life purpose is. But like Mr. Foley used to say, if you commit yourself to the betterment of humanity, you can be reassured that the Great Spirit will take care of you. That's why this happened, Jay.
I'm having fun, and that's the one thing people ask me why, that was one of the things that impressed me. I guess maybe 2 years ago, my daughter said she's about to graduate high school this year, and 2 years ago she was like, "Dad, is there an age limit to what you do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Am I too young?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Why would you want to do what I do?" She's like, "You're always having fun, but you're working." And she saw that. She's been inspired since then, and so that sent her off on this entire path. I never tried to tell her that that's what she was going to do. She just wants to be around an environment where it's fun and all these types of things. And I'm having fun now for the first time ever in my entire professional career, because I enjoy developing the clean, safe, affordable housing. I enjoy helping individuals with their retirement plans and being able to create passive income. But I really enjoy helping new people get started and making that happen. And I'm just right now I'm enjoying the fact that I'm taking notes. So please keep going. I wonder if you guys are out there wondering, when is he going to break? I wonder if you're wondering that every time. Anyway, I know you want to get right back to DC. She is absolutely amazing. And if you've been taking notes, you can understand that she's got a whole lot to share, and a whole lot more is coming. And I don't want to keep you from that. Many of you already know I'm excited, and we've got something new for you. And I just want to announce it real fast, get it to you, and then get right back to DC. Here it is. How about a sample chapter, actually 2, from the book? It's on its way, guys. It's to the point to where I can almost feel it. I can almost taste it. And for those of you who have been waiting, I appreciate your patience. Now you can go get a sample chapter. Simply do the following. You're going to send a text message to 949-682-3565 with the word sample. That's it. 949-682-3565. One more time. 949-682-3565. The word is sample. What's going to happen is that you're going to get a text message from me, and you're going to get, I need your name, need your email. And then what's going to happen is we're going to email it to you, and you'll be ready to go, and you'll get a sample immediately so that you can read it and begin to be just as excited as I am, if not more so. So I'm looking forward to getting that in your hot little hands. Again, the text is the word sample to 949-682-3565. Let's get right back to Miss Cordova.
I was going to say also a very good key right here, that kids do exactly what their parents do. They don't get mad at your children if they're smoking and they are using drugs and drinking alcohol, if that's what you do at home. I started smoking when I was 14 years old because my stepfather smoked, and he looked so cool. And it was the 60s, and I smoked for 10 years, and happily I have now healed my lungs. But children, we have to be very, very careful. So we inspire not only our children, but our teams, our employees. And that will take us to the next one, which is the next step into the business success model, which is leverage. Once you have found your niche, and by the way, may I just share with you that I think that the first trillionaire on planet Earth is going to be that or the known trillionaire, because I think there's probably a few already, but not that we know of. But I think that the first public trillionaire is going to be an individual that would have committed themselves to the housing, shelter problem that the world has, not only in the United States, but all around the world, and that is to shelter individuals that cannot afford, housing. So we need affordable housing. We need affordable, developments, and that also include renewable energy and water catching devices and being able to use solar, and so that we use all the gifts of the earth. But Mr. Foley used to say that solar is going to become very popular when the big corporations figure out a way to put a meter between you and the sun. And that is something so powerful. I never forgot. I heard that directly out of his lips. So now, what are you going to do with this niche, with this gift that you have? You're going to leverage it. When Kiyosaki first heard this word, leverage, I remember in 1980, he was a great-looking 33-year-old. He hadn't met his beautiful wife, Kim, yet. She was to come about 4 years later into our lives. And one of the things that Kiyosaki loved, and he was called Mr. Leverage, because when he got that, whoa, it was like, and he really understands leverage. You can see it in his books. You can see it in the real estate piece and all this and that. I also love leverage, and my leverage piece is also through networks, through people, through you leverage what little or a lot of money you have. You leverage resources. You leverage brilliance. You leverage your own relatives. If you have somebody that's very brilliant in your own family that just needs a little, push, and they need to go to work. Men need to be productive. Women need to be nurturers. A man needs to be put to work in whatever it is to build their self-esteem. This is very, very important. So leverage is the ability to be able to use a little money, a little knowledge, and really expand on that. So leverage is key. And the way that you leverage is through an aligned team. And notice the word aligned is here, not just team, but the word aligned. And what we're talking about here is an aligned team is a team that has a purpose. I already shared my purpose. A mission. A mission is leverageable. People say, how are you going to leverage that you eradicated poverty and hunger? Well, the governments know how to measure this. Governments know exactly, in many, many countries, even in the poorest countries, the level of poverty to the level of hunger that we have. Like right now, we have 17,000 children, mostly children, every single day that die of hunger or starvation or lack of clean water and lack of good medicine because there's no refrigeration. There's 1 billion people on the planet without electricity. So I commit myself a lot to organizations that are working on that. Now, see, I'm at a place now that I can pick and choose, okay? So I want to make it very clear that I'm not a young pup anymore, but I have a young spirit. But I have been around. I've been in the workforce for 40 years. So it's time for me to do what I want. And you want to be doing what I'm doing when you are in your 60s. You want to have, because we have a lot of energy. At 60, you're like a 25-year-old, but now you have the money, you have the energy, you have the knowledge. You stop caring what people think about you. You're just like, it's really cool, okay? So you have to have like this. You have to have it set up so that you can have a clear vision. You have a clear path, and you have to have clear rules of the game. In the Money and You program, we really go through this, and many of the masters and the people that I have already mentioned love this. They love this because having clear rules of the game, when you're going to play with people, you're going to do business with them, even this interaction that you and I are having, we got together and we created, we didn't call it rules of the game, but we chatted a little bit. I asked for the parameters. You gave me your parameters. We spoke a little. We were setting a foundation for the parameters of our conversation. This is a simple thing. You want to have clear rules of the game in your relationships. If you are engaged to be married, you want to have clear rules of the game. You have to really tell the truth about how you are about money together. This is when we start getting into the money conversation. I was married to a wonderful man for 4 years, we neglected the conversation about debt. He loves debt. I hate debt. I like good debt. You know, I understand when you're capitalizing a business, when you're building your real estate portfolio, when you invest on capital tools, I totally understand that type of debt. If you put money into, and it turns into debt, and that money is going to be used for capital tools that are going to make you money, that's good debt. But if, and particularly, and I'm not just going to talk to women here because men are just as bad as women when it comes to
you
shopping.
got that right.
You know, we like
I love to shop.
Yeah, and men like cars.
I like my car, and I have a few toys.
A lot more expensive,
They
right?
are.
So what you do is when you are tempted, like, oh, I was really tempted. I have a perfectly gorgeous car. I take care of my car. I'm a car girl, right? And the other day I was thinking, I want to go get another car, you know? So I went and I researched because I wanted a 2014 whatever. I've always wanted a yellow Corvette, right? And it was like I saw the latest Corvettes, and $100,000 for a Corvette, the one I want. And it was like, I can afford it. I have good credit. You know, I saw myself going through in my head, and it was like, really, DC? You are on the road most of the time. How often are you going to have that? And so I will lease one. When I really want one, maybe I might rent one for a month. You know, so you have to really take a look here on how you're going to leverage the money that you have and be in alignment with your spouses, with your children, with your team, with your accountant, with the IRS. We even have to have alignment with the IRS, meaning that you have to know the rules of the game by which you need to participate in on life. You need to understand, are you going to get a C corporation or an S corporation? The whole idea of you having a Nevada corporation, when people say, why don't you have a Nevada corporation? Well, have you read the rules lately? No, a California resident cannot just have, be doing business their whole life in California and then move over. You get caught. I don't even want to tell you the fines involved. So you need to know the rules of the game of your country, of the government, of how you participate. And in Money and You, we have these great experiential games where people discover some of the mistakes that they have made. So an aligned team is a team that's going in the same direction and in the same path, and then that will create the next two very profound money. I call them the money steps of the business success model, because synergy is when you start getting the combined efforts. It's like you're now creating unexpected results from learning from masters, having a niche, leveraging that niche through an aligned team. You create synergy, which in turn creates results. And in life, you either have reasons of why you didn't create what you wanted to create, or you have the results that speak for themselves. And this is very important. Some key things I want to make sure that I pass along to you that you may know already, Jay, and your audience. Be very clear on what financial independence means to you, to your wife, to your husband, to your boyfriend, to your children, to your spouse, whatever gender you like to hang out with. You're very clear of what is financial independence to you. Is it $25,000 a month of just, passive income that you're going to get every month? Is it that it just comes automatic money? And this is, I want to invite people to go to the moneyandyou.com and then download the 4-session business makeover. There's 4 hours there by Money and You graduates. The last one is me talking about Money and You, so we don't have to speak about that too much here. But there are some great principles there, too, about the business success model. But my first one is about a girlfriend of mine named Maria Simon, who's fabulous, and she's talking about being the CEO of your life. This is very, very important when you're creating results. You need to be the CEO of your life, and you get together with the other CEO of his or her life, which is your partners, your business partners, whoever it is. Then the second session is by one of my leading instructors of my Money and You program, we are one of the very few people in the industry that has an instructor that brings in $115 million a year in office supplies in Australia. Dominic Leone has been with me for nearly 25 years. He started when he was making $6 million a year back in the 80s, and now he's making, over $100 million a year. He uses the business success model, but he also uses other principles, not just ours, because once you become a lifelong learner, you're going to be learning from many different sources. And so you need to understand. Oh, and then in the fourth session business makeover, we had a wonderful man that was in The Secret, Lee Brower, a very straight Mormon gentleman that deals with a lot of money, Empower Wealth, and he's a consultant to some of the richest families in Utah. He talks about money, and it's very fascinating to hear from him. So that fourth session business makeover you can listen to, and there is a definition. I want you to really get clear as a cluster, as an ohana that we say in Hawaii. Hawaii, by the way, is my favorite place in the whole world. I love everything Hawaii, including the words that they have, like Huey. A Huey is a group of people that gets together to create more. So in your investment Huey or in your ohana and your family, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and get very clear on what financial independence means to you. What is it that you really need for your retirement? And I'm sure you've shared this, but I'm going to reiterate it again. And then, what Kiyosaki and I used to call sushi money. Sushi money is money that we could play with. It's always the reward. I have my sushi money credit card, and I can buy anything I want in there. And I have a card that I have to go through a process in order to get money into it if I want to spend more than $10,000, okay? If I want to spend more than that, it's going to take 2 or 3 days for that card to clear those funds. And that is my firewall to my credit card addiction, because there's still a part of me that thinks those credit cards are just little pieces of plastic,
right?
And that the money is going to come out of nowhere. And it is a lifelong addiction.
Right.
It's like I'm very clear that I have to put firewalls on that, and therefore I mostly use debit cards. That's the way that I have had to learn. So you see, people have all kinds of different P's that you have to learn, and then you have to get very clear on the definition of wealth. Buckminster Fuller defined wealth as the number of days forward that you can take care of yourself. So are you truly wealthy? How many days can you take care of yourself? Can you take care of yourself for the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? Do you have income that's coming to you? Do you have access to that income? Whatever. That's Buckminster Fuller's. My own definition of wealth, which I really believe I've earned the right to have created my own definition because of all the people that I have been with, I have studied, and I have had read and had the opportunity of all the masters that I still learn from, and that is the access to money, the access to capital, the access to credit, the access to networks, the access to influential people, the access to education, because you can lose everything. And I almost did. I really didn't lose everything. My mentors keep reminding me of that. But I was in the financial crisis of Asia in 1997, 98. And, we were having a fantastic business. We were bringing in over 100,000 in sales every month. And it literally stopped in 1 week. It stopped in 1 week. It was the financial crisis. Like America has not seen such a thing except in 1929. And what I was able to recuperate because of the access that I had and the knowledge. And the biggest thing you need to understand that when that happened, and I got so scared because I had never in my whole life, I was in my 40s when I went through this, and I was very spoiled. I didn't know what it was like to not be able to pay payroll that week. Or I didn't know what it was like to have American Express calling your office. I didn't know what it was like to have bill collectors calling you. And it was the most humbling experience that I've ever learned. But the one thing that I learned was that I had the ability to sell. I had the ability to be able to work on myself. At that time, I called, like all my buddies, I called Tony Robbins and said, I need to come to one of your programs because I need a mindset change fast. My own programs are magnificent, but because I can't do my own programs in front of all my own audience, I wouldn't feel safe. I had to go someplace else. The first thing I did was to work on my mindset, and this is very important. You have to learn the 3 deep breaths. Next time you go into major reaction, which we all go through, next time there's a big upset, the first thing you're going to do is take 3 deep breaths and calm yourself down. Say, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And never, ever make major decisions, whether it's about getting married, about selling a house, about changing careers, investment that will take your savings and your friends' money without being sober. And what I mean by that, and I also mean alcohol sober, do not do it when you're drinking, but I mean sobriety of feelings and emotions. You have to take a look at all the pros and the cons, and is this a person that you do want to spend the rest of your life with? Is this a person that you can grow together with? Is this a person that you can grow the kind of money? I have to talk about Robert and Kim Kiyosaki here for a minute.
By all means.
I love their relationship.
By all means.
I mean, their relationship is so beautiful. I really, truly believe that Kim was the greatest gift to Robert. And the one thing that those two had in common was their aligned goals to creating wealth together. I mean, it is so beautiful to see. And what they created, the contribution that they have made. You know, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book was a book that leveraged my work completely, because that comes from Money and You. So, you know, when you see couples like that, I so admire them as a couple because I feel like they really, they combined their forces together. So this business success model became part of their personal relationship, which translated as part of their business relationship, which resulted in wealth. And a lot of families, a lot of couples don't do this. You can't be separate. Look, if you are a man or a woman that has a spouse that loves to waste money and to get in debt, you are going to get divorced. It's going to end up in divorce if you are not the kind that likes to go into debt like that. If you both love debt, you know, then you will go broke together at some point, and you'll be, you know, it's like, seriously, I'm talking about bad debt, you know, just to buy Louis Vuitton purses and all these things. You know, it's like, be a millionaire next door. Read books like Think and Grow Rich. When you download the 4-session business makeover, you're going to be offered a manual called Money Making Systems Manual that I wrote many, many years ago. This is, it has the 4-session business makeover recordings too, but the first one is a recording of how to use this 209-page manual on creating systems that are money-making solely. I think my team is only charging $79, which is, or $77, I'm not really sure, which pays for all the costs for web stuff. Web things are very expensive, folks. A lot of people think, oh, I can just take this because they have it on the web. Well, I don't know if you have ever done an online business, but it is costly. So one of the things that you want to understand is that you have to have an organization that's systems-based. You have to have a system. Choose, if you're in real estate, choose only one area. The greatest masters are the ones who have chosen one area of real estate. There's many. Once you master that one and it's on automatic money, then move to another one. But I find that a lot of failure that people have in real estate is by dabbling in too many of the pots. And so they don't become masterful at one. So whatever you're doing, use the business success model, whether you are building a relationship, you're building a business, you're training your children, teach them this, just teach them, because they also are learning from masters. Their teachers to them are masters. The niche is their little class. They leverage it by doing homework. and by having alignment with their teachers, and the results are going to be good grades. And so you can apply this business success model to many things, and I just felt, Jay, that this was going to be the most valuable teaching for your audience that I could bring to the table, that I know that made a huge difference to the Kiyosakis, to the men that taught us the cash flow quadrant. Keith Cunningham, he was one of our mentors with Kiyosaki and I, and Robert took that book and that concept to a whole other level, which was magnificent. And Robert got Sharon Lecter. His partnership with Sharon for 10 years was absolutely unbelievably profitable and valuable to him because he surrounded himself with the right team, with an aligned team. You have to have a good accountant, a good bookkeeper, I have been in a mastermind since I was 26 years old, and I have had a coach, what they call a coach now, a mentor, working with me personally since the same time. I have not stopped on having those people that give me feedback. So I really congratulate your group that is getting together with you, Jay, because I know that you are a man with a good heart, and you turning around and empowering your team. This is how we eradicate poverty, by you not being poor and by you teaching others not to be poor.
That is absolutely awesome. Now, with the time that we have left, it just feels like, excuse me, it just feels like everybody should just go right now and implement everything you just said. But with the time that we have left, what would you say to that person or persons who's either in one of a couple categories? They're considering, okay, should I start business? How am I going to do this? And they may have a few things to clear up or in their way that they just can't see how they can get started. Or that person who just experienced something that they consider to be challenging, and they're like, well, I can't start business because I have all these other things going on. I know you've got a wealth of experience in both of those arenas with all the people that you've worked with.
What we can do too, Jay, you can bring me a second time. I'll happily come back and we can go into question and answer from you.
Nice.
I know this was more of a big picture, and we can do question and answer, and happy to do that. And one of the things that I highly recommend to people is bringing them back to the business success model, because you need to be very clear on what your weaknesses are. A very powerful person is a person that knows their strengths and their weaknesses. When we take people through Money and You, there's a 3.5-day program. This program is designed to take people through processes where they will discover their weaknesses, they will discover their strengths, and also give them the business success model experientially. But people also need to clear the blocks to deservability. This is a word I heard somewhere. I didn't make that word up, but I love that word. What is the level of deservability do you have? If your level is very low, you are not going to see the business opportunities to build that business or to get started. Don't let fear get in the way of your dreams. Fear comes from the reptilian part of the brain, and it is very usable when you have to flee, when you have to run. There are times it's a big, giant guy is going to attack me in an alley. The biggest thing that I can do is run at that moment. That is what the brain is going to do, and I'm probably going to do that. So one of the things that you need to understand is that we use fear. That's what Tony teaches, turning fear into power. It's like you use your fear and you breathe deeply. Listen to this podcast a few times. I have said a lot of things that will answer the question that you just asked me. And the other thing is you need to be clear. Who is going to be the master? What is your niche going to be? How are you going to leverage it? Who is going to be your team? And what are the results that you're going to create? How much money do you need for you to survive? When you are at survival, what you need to understand is that you're not involved in enough income-generating activities. And whenever somebody says, how do I get out of the mess that I'm in, you need to go to work on income-generating activities. That is key, because a lot of people will spend time doing research or doing things, or they will have a business that is not leverageable. And as much as you may be in love with your business, this is the biggest thing. Jay Abraham, the great marketing, he always says, the biggest mistake that people make is to fall in love with their business. He says, fall in love with your customers. Fall in love with your customers. So what do the customers want? What do they need? So the biggest thing that you need to is exercise. You need to take a walk every day. What happens with people when they get down and out and when they do too much computer work or they do too much work, you need to take at least half an hour or an hour of exercise. You need to do something physical, because the brain, you need oxygen. You have to drink less alcohol, drink more water, have better food, more greens and vegetables, and give the fuel to your brain to think and to be creative. Stop doing things that are out of integrity in your life that don't allow for you to open up for the gifts that the universe will give you. If we feel that we're hurting someone or we're hurting the environment, our deservability level will be very low. And this is not just talking about morals. I'm not being righteous here, because I have been a very, very naughty girl. In my 20s, in my 30s, I was a girl of the 70s. Everybody can figure that out, what that means, I was a party girl. So, I haven't been an angel, and so I had to stop drinking. I stopped drinking in my 30s because I wanted to look like I look now in my 60s. I actually look like my pictures that you see. And I have, so that's very important for a human being, to have what I call come to Jesus meeting with yourself on how you're going to create wealth. This is the key. This is what Kiyosaki and I worked on with him. And then the deals come easy. There are so many good real estate deals out there. But if you don't have a clear head, you can't see it. Yes or no, Jay?
Yes, absolutely. I'm floored that you're saying these things, because these are the very things that I find myself saying when I'm coaching someone on a private basis. Is we start with them and their integrity and clearing stuff like this up so that they can then go exercise all of the techniques inside of real estate or business and whatever it is. So I'm just really, really encouraged that you've invested the time here. I hope that they do exactly what you just said and listen to this many, many times, because you have laid down some excellent wisdom, lots of knowledge, lots of experience, and I hope they even take advantage of the offers that you made between the business success model, which is at moneyindyou.com/free gift, I believe, so that you can actually download that and watch those videos and begin going through the process. And just begin going through the process, because you have said so much. I mean, between the transformational learning, the experiential learning, and going through the process of just having lots of street knowledge, because that's what I tell people too, is like, I didn't graduate from any particular school. My pedigree isn't overly impressive. I've got lots of street knowledge though. I know how to work with people, and I can put the teams together and figure out specific stuff, but that's about it. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
And you have the results. You have proven. You have what we call social proof. This is a word from the 21st century. I know some of the poorest people that I know are PhDs. I'm not impressed by traditional education. I apologize. I'm impressed by people's results, by their actions. And this, you need to know, this is what the world is seeing. So, one of the things that I always share with people, clear those blocks, clear the cobwebs. Make a list of your most negative thoughts about money. Make a list of your biggest learning experiences that you've had, the biggest mistake you made in business. Just forgive yourself and move on. Look, we're going to borrow. I borrowed and I edited a line from the hippies. I was never a hippie. I could never be a hippie, but I love some of the things that they taught. And one of the things is, this moment is the first moment of the rest of your life. This moment, you can make the decision right now that you're going to release and let go of everything that hasn't worked for you, that you're now choosing financial independence. You're now choosing to live a life that contributes to the betterment of yourself, of your family, of your beloveds, of your community, of the world. You just make that statement alone, and you live by the principles of the greatest religions on this planet, which are very similar. And that's one thing about the Ten Commandments. You know, you can say whatever you want to say about any religion, but most of them have a Ten Commandments. They're very similar. And once you start living a life that is value-based, the world is going to rock for you. And money is a byproduct of your actions, and the byproduct, if you are in a business that's going to add the most value for humanity. And that's what we like about Apple computers, even though they're a little bit expensive. But Apple computers is the 21st century example of people that got very clear on what their audience wanted and provided that, and then they did it at a profit, and they are one of the richest companies in the tech world, and they have shifted the world. And you, who knows, if you're not the next Steve Jobs, you could be it, except you want to live a little longer. And I just want to complete my conversation with just saying that, you know, we are all blessed. If you're listening to this, that means that you probably have electricity, you probably have a computer, you probably have a mobile phone, and you probably have enough to eat and a place to sleep. And we are blessed. You know, there are many people on planet Earth that have very little, if not nothing, and it is our obligation as a blessed human being to provide for the betterment of humanity, and you will be the happiest person on planet Earth.
Wow. Again, thank you for your time. I believe I will be taking you up on that offer to come back, because I'm sure we're going to get lots of emails, lots of calls about everything that you've had to say. And I want to collect those questions and do my best to get those answers and continue to support you in any and every way that we can, because you are indeed a beautiful person. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. Oh, and use technology. Go to Flipboard, download Flipboard app, and go and find the Money and You magazine. You'll see my name by DC Cordova, and I have a bunch of great articles in there. Flipboard, it's an application.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, everyone, that's another episode of the CashflowDiary.com podcast, and I know you want more, but you're going to have to wait for the next episode. But glad that you've been here this entire time. Hopefully you're going to move at the speed of instruction. Look at the items that have been highlighted for you in this particular episode, and let's go out there and make some cash flow happen. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.